Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the five canons of rhetoric. And as we all know that rhetoric is the art of persuasion, which along with grammar and some logic is one of the three ancient arts of discourse. It really aims to study the capacities of writers and speakers, and if required to inform, persuade, or motivate in certain situations and to particular audience in a specific manner. These are the five canons of rhetoric. They are really essentials. Once, if we wish to become eloquent speaker, and these are the five canons that we will be extensively discussing today. Five canons of rhetoric are invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery. So we will be discussing all these five canons in detail in today's session. First of all, let us know what is rhetoric. As I had started with the same elaboration, that rhetoric is the art of persuasion, which along with grammar and logic is one of the three ancient arts of discourse. It really aims to study the capacities of sometimes writers, sometimes speakers, and if it is required to inform, persuade, motivate the audience in a particular manner. You can see here the speech of Adolf Hitler, his first speech, the painting of the first speech of Adolf Hitler in a bar or a pub. So the way he was one of the greatest orators in the world till now. So after that, we will discuss about the five canons. The first canon is invention. Invention is about coming up with a good idea and having something useful to say to the audience. Suppose if you wish to state something to the audience, it is not that whatever you wish to say, you can say it in a haphazard manner. Whatever you want to say, you need to decide it prior, and even you can invent certain new ways by which you can elaborate those things to your audience. So the creativity always leads to curiosity, and later on they may develop interest in whatever you wish to elaborate to them. If invention in English actually comes from the Latin word invenire, which roughly translate when translated means to find. So the original meaning is just to find. When you are in the invention stage, you are considering what your audience needs to know and why they need to know it. And after knowing the reason, you can invent some strategies, some methods so that you can deliver whatever you wish to say to the audience. So it is really the most important component or canon of rhetoric. The second canon is arrangement. When we talk about arrangement in rhetoric, we are referring to how a communication is constructed and organized. You may be thinking, what is there to construct? If you have knowledge, if you have power of speech, you should speak it in your flow. No, it's not like that. You should always manage each and everything, because nobody has that much time to devote to the unnecessary talks that you may be delivering to them. So you always plan, prepare, and practice whatever you wish to deliver to your audience, and organize it, arrange it in a proper way so that it can be given to them in a appropriate manner, and even the motto or motive is also clear for which you have planned your speech Consider where to organize words, sentences. Now, arrangement doesn't mean that you need to arrange the chairs, the mic, the room, the auditorium, or the place. Arrangement here means that you need to arrange and organize your words, sentences, paragraphs, sections, and you have to make a strategy, a strategic decision about what will come first, what will be the middle part, what will be the concluding part, and where you need to lay the emphasis, how and in what manner you are going to deliver your speech, what you, uh, even you need to take care of the pitch, intonation, fall, enthusiasm level. Each and everything has to be taken care of. Arrangement is much like storytelling. So, if by any chance you have decided that today you will narrate a story, but still you're not aware which is the ending, which is the beginning, and which is the concluding part, and you have started with the middle section and now you are not aware, so you concluded, and later on you can proceed with the introductory part. So the story telling, or the motto of storytelling and even the essence of storytelling will not be delivered to your audience. So in the same way, if you wish to deliver anything to your audience, or if you wish to become eloquent speaker, or if you wish to know the canons of rhetoric, then you need to know how can we arrange the matter in a proper way, in a proper sequence, and how can you set up your communication so that someone can understand who are the key people, the key problem, the key solution, the key series of events and locations, howsoever they may matter in your communication. So you need to take care of each and everything and arrange and organize them in an appropriate manner. Arrangement can be in varied forms. Many speeches, reports, and common communication platforms follow similar arrangement style, as you can observe. Even I'll give an example also to you, such as if you are willing to prepare a proposal, then you will definitely start with an introduction. So provide a problem statement, that will be the next procedure. After that, give research. You need to lay forth some proof and facts that can support to the arguments, to the points that you have introduced in your thesis. Show the result of the research and offer a proposed idea. So this is the sequence that is expected once if you are willing to deliver a proposal. So depending on your communication piece, just consider if there are conventions and paradigms that you should follow, then strategically modify where necessary to give appropriate emphasis. You cannot change thoroughly whatever the sequences are planned, but still you can always create, innovate something new, whatever the arrangement you wish to do in any type of speech, report, any type of communication. It is up to you. After arrangement, the important canon is what? Style. What do you mean by style? Style is the fun, artistic part of communication because it is really necessary. If you do not have style in your communication, then something is missing and nobody is going to listen to you, whatever and howsoever important the matter may be. So style is really important. When you wish to converse, then the style in rhetoric is really essential. We are referring to the choices you make to impact on audience. Here you can make certain choices as well. It is not necessary that this is the appropriate style and you need to follow this style only in each and every condition. As per the requirement of the situation, you can always alter your styles, and you can add on certain figures of speeches. You can add linguistic devices to enhance the understanding and appeal, and style is usually aligned with the rhetorical appeal pathos, because style will often affect the emotions and reactions of your audience. So you need to be sensible how what type of audience is sitting in front of you, as per the level, as per the information level, as per the knowledge, as per the interest, as per the requirement of the audience. You can always infuse certain things to elevate your style. The next and important point is memory. Memory, when originally conceived as one of the five canon, made reference to memorizing a speech. So memory, if we take memory as or in the form of five canons of rhetoric, then we will say that we should always memorize whatever we wish to deliver to the audience. And we need to practice, we need to rehearse, we need to make certain mnemonics so that we can know, we can learn that what is the beginning, what is the middle, what is the ending, what are the important segments that we wish to include in a presentation. So it was believed in the earlier times that this speech should be so well memorized that they could give it without hesitation, and memory required speakers to develop mnemonic devices to help them remember whatever they wish to say one after the other. So even the sequences can be learned through mnemonic techniques. But what is memory? However, memory is much more than memorization. It is not only just memorizing the speech. You need to know the extra knowledge. You need to have the extra knowledge of that particular topic for which you wish to talk, or you wish to deliver a speech, you wish to discuss, or you wish to say something to your audience. But memorizing a speech isn't usually considered a good idea nowadays. So when we refer to memory in rhetoric, we mean that a speaker or a communicator should always know as much as possible about a topic, because whenever a presenter is presenting something, he should always expect some questions and certain queries that he should satisfy and even respond with accuracy and professionalism. So these are the things that can be included in memory rather than only memorizing the speech. Later on, the important canon that comes out is delivery. Here you can see Lincoln delivering the famous Gettysburg Address. So the way he's standing, and even you can see how patiently all the listeners are listening to him, and even you can see the crowd in front of him. So this is the way of delivery, how it brings forth impact. As you might infer from the Greek definition of delivery, is in part about pronunciation, delivery here. But apart from that, as a broader concept in presenting information, delivery is about the way in which you give a speech or present a communication piece. Delivery doesn't mean only reading out whatever you have memorized, whatever you have learned, or whatever you have planned in your brain to deliver to someone. So it really matters a lot the way you pronounce the things, the way you tell, the call, intonation, pitch, everything need to be concerned, and even the body language and your eye contact, your posture, your professionalism, the way you dress with you, and the level of confidence, body language, and many other things are responsible to bring forth a perfect or effective delivery. But delivery can be applied to any communication piece. The delivery of your resume is also an important part. It is not necessary that you are standing on a stage and you are delivering something. Sometimes when you are facing an interview and you are asked to give your resume or any important document, the way you wrap, the way you fold, the way you put it into the envelope, each and everything is important, and that is also a part of delivery. So the way you give it to your employer makes a real sense. The next part that comes is allocution. Basically, it means the way something is said, the vocabulary, the sentence structure, and expression used will definitely affect the reader's perception of ideas. The way reader or the audience will receive whatever you have delivered is also important. Memory is sometime what happens, as we have already discussed, that memory is critical because the power of expressive language will be a function of great database of language in the brain. Each and everyone cannot learn and frame or deliver the things as they may have planned prior their speech, because it is a critical thing, it is a power, everyone cannot have it. However, we can promote greater facility by using imitation and even exercises. Sometimes if we have observed someone delivering a speech and we are impressed by the person, then we can imitate the person, we can take certain exercises, we can practice them, and when our turn comes, we can always deliver in the same manner. Now, allocation means, if we move to the literal meaning, then books describe it as the art of speaking in such a manner that the voice may be heard, the words understood, and the sentiments and feelings appreciated by those to whom they are addressed. Delivering something or some great matter is not only the requirement of speech, but how you deliver, whether it is received, whether it is understood, whether it is comprehended by the audience in an appropriate manner, or what sort of feelings are aroused once if they have received whatever you have addressed to them. Rubrics or checklist can stretch to use words in a way that might not naturally use them. Now, each and every day you may be using certain words, certain ideas, certain phrases, but when you have decided or you have got an opportunity to speak in front of someone, then at that time you need to prepare, you need to create something new, whatever you may not have been using in your day-to-day life. You can include such things such an adjective clause, a participle opener, or a simile, and sometimes some challenging vocabulary words, expressions, and devices beyond your everyday habit. You can use them. You can start small and grow slowly so that the challenge is not overwhelming, and you can reach up to your desired destination. So you can receive some suggestions for appropriate words. You can rehearse, you can rephrase backward clauses, demonstrate devices again and again, And practicing with a simple style checklist will effectively strengthen elocution skills within you. So these are all the things that you need to take care. You can take the examples that someday if you have decided to go to a party and you're not going to wear or you're not going to present yourself in the same way as you may be presenting in your day-to-day life. So on that day, you'll definitely do something creative. You'll wear something new. You'll change your hairstyle. You'll change your look, your personality and hairstyle, and even the style of speaking as well, because today is a party. In the same way, if you wish to know the canon of rhetoric, then you need to know elocution. This is only that if you have decided now you need to create something new, you need to use something new when you wish to present it in front of others. Some more things we will discuss, such as definitions are to the five canons we have already discussed. Now I have just included certain points. Once if you wish to deliver or present something in front of public, then you need to define it in a proper way so that they can understand, they can know the definition, whatever you wish to make them know. And divide the matter into separate parts or whole, or break them down into subjects so that it becomes easier for them to understand. And later on you can compare, showing similarities and differences of your topic with that of another, showing the degree to which the topic does and even sometimes does not do something. So after comparing, you need to build a relationship. How can you do that? You can describe things like cause and effect, antecedent and consequences, contraries and contradictions, and in this way you can build certain relationships. And after that you can come upon circumstances determining what might be possible or impossible according to your topic, or what the past might have to say about the future. So this way you can always build a relationship. You can create certain circumstances and later you can come upon to the testimony. Using other accounts to describe your topic, considering things like eyewitness accounts, authority figure, explanations, rumors, oaths, documents, law, supernatural considerations, precedents, and many other things can be taken on account for testimony. Notation and conjugates. Addressing your topic in terms of language and its relationship to language. So if you can relate it in this way, definitely whatever you have decided will come forth in an effective way. Now, once if we conclude, rhetoric is not the evil sophist science, nor the liberal art to be reserved for the upper school. It is not necessary that we cannot know what are the five canons of rhetoric. This is meant for the sophisticated people, the intelligent students, or those who have good command over the language. By understanding the five canons, we can see that we can also create difference. We can know the fundamental components and how can we cultivate within ourselves the art of rhetoric, because this is an art and we can always imbibe it within ourselves. In the upcoming session, we will be discussing about connect with captive audience. So today we have discussed about the five canons of rhetoric.